What is going on, guys? Welcome to the second episode of Catching Up with Dynasty. If you're new to these episodes, this is where we get to spend some time with the players from San Diego Dynasty, find out what's going on, get little updates as the season unfolds. If you're new to this channel, definitely hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if you like it. Today's guest is none other than Marcello Margott. Marcello joined San Diego Dynasty in 2015, became part owner in the team in 2021. He's also co-host of Play the Game podcast and much more. Let's welcome Marcello Margott. Hey Marcello, thank you for joining us on episode 2. Before we jump into it, how's everything going I'd normally say sunny San Diego, but I don't think it's been sunny San Diego recently.
It is the exact opposite of sunny San Diego recently. I did go outside this morning for about 10 minutes to try to get some natural light on the face. It's very cloudy, but you still do get the light. Yeah, it's been crazy weather. You know, we had a rainy practice over the weekend. There was hail, which I've seen in San Diego maybe 4 times in my whole life, and there was a lot of it. But yeah, things are great. How you doing, Junior?
We're good. It's been like that for us in Modesto too. I think it feels like ever since December, it's just been storm after storm after storm.
Yeah.
So it's definitely not what we're used to. We had the same thing with the
Mm-mm.
hail. I remember, I think one of the kids sent a picture of hail and like they were excited to see it because they just don't
Yeah,
see it.
I mean
Right?
it's cool for me. You know, I love when it storms in San Diego when it rains a little bit. We don't get it often, so you know, I know a lot of the people back east are telling me to be careful what you wish for, but
Yeah.
I'm not complaining too much.
Yeah. So before we jump into the catching up with Dynasty side, let's talk about the iconic award that you got. You
Mm,
defensive player, I want to say, of the year.
yep.
Um, Obviously, you've won many, many championships now and many events, but what's it mean to get something that's just for you, right? And I'm not sure. Is this the first year you got it or the second year?
It's the second year that they've done the awards and
Okay.
second year in a row that I got the defensive player of the year. But really, what I look at from the iconic awards is how many dynasty players as a whole were up there. It's just a testament to the organization and the type of year we had, to be completely honest. At the end of the day, you know, the answer is obviously that it's about winning the championship. So those personal accolades will naturally come if you have a team that's all doing what they're supposed to win championships, and you are winning championships, right? It's hard to give it to another team or other players. So really, it's just all about our squad and what we've been putting together.
Yeah, it did show that. It was a lot of Dynasty. I think the
A lot
only
of
one I
dynasty,
didn't see that was Dynasty was the new upcoming player, I believe,
right?
wasn't a Dynasty because I don't think last season you really had a new upcoming player. So it was good to
Totally.
to see that across the board for sure. Um,
Hmm.
Play the Game
Dynasty sweep.
podcast. Yes, it was a sweep. Play the Game podcast. I feel like I started watching it in COVID times when COVID started.
Yep.
You and
Hmm.
Tyler put that out once a week, but I feel like I watch a lot of podcasts and Play the Game feels more than just a podcast. It feels like a big community. What give us a rundown on Play the Game? What's it mean to you to have that and be so consistent since COVID?
Yeah, actually, during COVID, we we were doing often two shows a week, and for us, it really started because we couldn't play paintball. You know, COVID
Right.
happened, everything got shut down. We got back from the Vegas event. Tyler and myself had talked about starting some sort of business together for many years. You know, Tyler and I have been best friends since we were like 16 years old. You know, really close. So we always wanted to do something together. We were unsure of what. Initial conversations long before COVID were like, maybe we should start a YouTube channel or some sort of vlog, or anything to showcase like what we're doing and bring paintball to the masses. When COVID happened, it just kind of all fell right into place. You know, we couldn't play paintball, so we wanted to talk about paintball. We wanted to try to keep paintball alive and make sure that people were hearing stories about paintball and excited about paintball. That was like the birth of Play the Game podcast. So for us during that period, it was our way to get our paintball fix. You know, it was amazing during that time. It was, I looked forward, you know, honestly, I still look forward to, but especially during that time, I look forward to every single show we did, you know, to get guests on, talk about paintball, talk about what this game means to them, because, I think that's what's been missing in our sport for a long time, is really showcasing why the game means what it does to all of us. You know, you included, everyone that plays paintball or has been bitten by the paintball bug. It's about the experiences, the lifestyle, the relationships, the travel, all of the things that we don't showcase, the stuff you don't see on Go Sports. It's not just about the game itself. The game is really fun, but everything that comes along with the game is really what has captured so many of us. So our goal has been, always will be, is to really share that with people, kind of cement the history of the game, make sure there's a place where players can learn about the game. And over time it's evolved, you know, now it's, in all honesty, I don't look at it as just a podcast. Like you said, I think it's a full blown kind of media company, and we would like to, do more in the space as well with, you know, photography and videos and, you know, whatever we might be able to expand to in the future. Some of this might have to come, you know, after our actual playing careers, because that eats up quite a bit of time as well. But the options are really limitless and the goals are endless. You know, truly, we talk about different ways to innovate this space, frequently, you know, and ultimately the goal to help paintball get seen or listened to by the masses is a huge goal. And that's been something that has also proved to happen. It's crazy that we've had people actually reach out to us that had never heard of paintball before, stumbled upon our podcast. I don't really know how. I guess maybe the name, you know, if you type in game, I'm not sure, but they stumbled across the podcast and decided to go play paintball and are hooked now. You know, they play every weekend, and love the game. We've had couples reach out to us, and it's something that they started doing together. So, I mean, ultimately on a grander scale, that would be ideal. That would be incredibly fulfilling. And then the community that we've built around it is crazy. You know, I'll never forget that first World Cup in 2020, after, you know, 6 months, 8 months of COVID, you know, we get to go to World Cup. That was the next event that we had. And Tyler and I would walk onto the field and people would be in the stands yelling, "Play the game. Yeah, Tyler, Marcello, play the game." That was like an incredible feeling to me. You know, I was like, wow, people have actually been listening and they like this. They like what we're doing. The community is receiving it well. So it's a show that is really for the players, by the players, you know. And yeah, I don't know what else to say about it.
Yeah, good. So people, it's not just a YouTube thing. I watch it on YouTube. You can find it on all the main channels to download
Yes.
podcasts and things
Yeah.
like that. But
Yeah,
then
absolutely. Yeah.
you also have a Discord as well.
Yep, we do have a Discord. That community is fantastic. It's a great way to support the show. If you go to the PTG Paintball website, there's a Patreon link. If you become a Patreon supporter at any level, you'll get access to the Discord. And the Discord is fantastic. You know, we have a lot of thought-provoking conversations about the game. There's a great community in there. Players are able to, you know, find teammates, find new teams to play with, find events to go to. Every year at World Cup, they put in a 10-man team and they all play together, have a good time. So we greatly appreciate all of the supporters in the Discord. Even if you're not in the Discord, if you just listen to the show, you're supporting the show, and we really appreciate that. It keeps us, you know, kind of moving forward and motivated as well. But the community is fantastic. We truly have such a unique and amazing group of players that are in there. So
Nice. Yeah, good. So people should definitely check that out for sure. Now moving on to Dynasty, little bit of a catch up. Obviously, really the off season's over now. We've got a week before the first event starts. With the off season though, seeing that we're still in it, what's your thoughts on the off season this year? I know obviously Dynasty lost Dalton and Kyle. Did that come as a big shock to you? How did that go down for you or on your side? And overall in general, what's the off season been like?
well, this offseason was incredibly boring until the last like month. You know, it was so late into, I was looking at it as, wow, this next season is going to be very similar to the last. I mean, I think Damage got better, obviously picking up Rainey, but all the other teams, I was like, okay, it's kind of status quo, little bit of a mundane kind of offseason. And then all of a sudden, boom, there was a big splash, big bomb that kind of went off, and all these moves started happening. And in one sense, obviously, Dalton and Kyle are two of my really good friends. Don't want to lose them as teammates. But they had great opportunities and they felt they needed to take them. So, it's one of those things where it just is what it is, right? I've been in this game a long time. So have you. I'm sure you've had friends that have, taken other opportunities and thought they would put themselves in better positions, whether it's financially or competitively, whatever it might be. It just is what it is. I don't think you should allow that to interfere with any sort of friendship. All you can do is focus on what you still have and what you're still going to do. So all of our focus and energy has really been on Dynasty. I try every offseason to not really let the other teams' moves and things really take up too much of my time or mental capacity. Because at the end of the day, look, we'll show up to the first event and everybody's a competitor. Anybody can catch fire, and you just have to be focused on, what teams are playing good, how teams are playing the field, what your team's doing, how your team's playing, where your weaknesses are. It's the same process. So where the players are and where they go to doesn't quite matter as much. Really want to focus on your team, and I think that's what Dynasty's doing right now.
Yeah, good. And look, when guys leave a team, it opens the door for new pickups, right? And that's
Yes,
what
certainly.
Dynasty did. They went through and you guys picked up Chris from
Mhm.
Revo and then Harrison from Infamous.
Yep.
How are those guys doing?
So far, it's been excellent. So, Chris actually came out to a practice about a month ago with the team. Unfortunately, Archie and myself weren't able to make it to that one. So, this was my first practice this last weekend playing with Chris and Harrison, because we picked Harrison up after that practice. But it was great fit. Chris is an awesome dude. Harrison I've known for a long time. So, I'm excited to see what they can do. Alex puts it very well. You don't want to get on Dynasty and then just expect to win, right? The reason Dynasty has success is because the players really play hard. They put the effort in, they put the work in, and the players themselves have to go out and actually do it on the field. So you don't just put the jersey on and go out there and win. That's not how it works. You have to do the work. So I'm excited to see those players kind of take the next step. It's really good for the team as well to get some new hungry players that have not won at the professional level to come in, and they really want it. It's not to say that any of us don't want it, but you know how it is. Sometimes it's easy to get a little comfortable. It's easy, I think with anything, even if the formula is right, at some point the formula has to change. It has to evolve, otherwise you fall behind. So having just a little bit of a shift, a little bit of a shakeup is a really good thing for the team, in my opinion. Bringing in some new blood is a good thing, in my opinion. I'm very excited for this season to see what they can do, the opportunity that they have, but also, we have other players on the team that also have an opportunity to really step up. I'm really looking forward to seeing what Mikey does this season. Mikey's had a great few years with the team. He truly has. And now there's a big window for him to really take on a bigger role. I know he's motivated. I know he works really hard. He's a good student in the game. So yeah, I'm really excited. Dynasty's in a good spot for not just this season, but for, the future.
Yeah, that's nice. So you did say that you guys got together this weekend. That brings us to a good point of really this past weekend would have been layout one
Yeah.
or practice one on the layout. The layout's now not coming out until the weekend before, so it comes out this Wednesday. What did you guys have to change? How did it go? I know there was a storm in San Diego, so that probably threw it off a little bit. But in general, what's your take on that side of it?
I don't like it at all. I think it's an interesting move and doesn't accomplish what they feel it's going to accomplish. The move, it was voted on by all 20 teams, and I think the final vote was 11-9. And the teams that voted to move to 1 week, in my opinion, they want to minimize the separation between the top, 6 teams that can practice a lot and the other teams that might not be able to, might not have the resources to. I don't think going to 1 weekend actually does that. I think if you want to minimize that separation, it has to be a blind layout. Actually, I think the separation is going to get greater now because the teams with the capabilities are going to practice, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, possibly Monday, maybe take Tuesday off, right? And practice again Wednesday, Thursday. The difference, the learning curve in these practices from weekend 1 to weekend 2, typically in previous seasons where they have layouts for 2 weekends, the learning curve from weekend 1 to weekend 2 is really steep. If there was a weekend 3, I don't know that it continues to improve at that rate, but weekend 1 to weekend 2 is a big deal. So now you're going to give the teams that have the resources to really, get Thursday and Friday off from work, because paintball is their job, and put in the extra hours. I think you're going to see an even bigger separation with the really top, elite teams and the bottom teams. I don't know. We'll see, but that's my opinion. So the move to 1 weekend, I don't think accomplished what it intended to. I think it's a strange move. I would have preferred 2 weekends. I think having more time on the layout actually adds more skill to the game, less luck. And anytime you could add more skill and more preparation into a professional sport, I'm a fan of that. So personally, I didn't love the decision, but it is what it is. And so now we have to find a new way to practice. And our goal for weekend 1, the non-layout weekend, I guess we'll call it now, really was just to, and especially our situation's a little unique because we have these new players that we haven't played with. So rather than just doing drills, we felt it was very important to get comfortable with one another, right? Start building some team chemistry. We wanted to play a lot of points, and just get used to how each other, play on the field. That's a huge part of it, right? That's why you've seen some of these super teams in the past not be able to win right away. Chemistry, you could have, 10 of the best players in the world, but if they don't have good chemistry, if they're not kind of playing the same brand of ball or understanding or on the same page with how they want to play, then you're not going to see the type of success that you would with a, well-oiled team. This is a team sport, one of the greatest team sports in the world because of that. So that was our goal. However, we showed up Saturday morning. It was pouring rain. It was freezing cold. And we're like, okay, we're also a little bit old. So, 10 years ago, we probably would have gone out there and played either way, so let's play through it. But we're a little bit older, a little more fragile. So we decided to do some team bonding. We went to breakfast, had a nice breakfast together. It was Ryan's birthday. We went back to Skinny Kevin's house, played some gel blasters, got some action going. And by around 12 o'clock, it stopped raining. So we were near the field. We went to the field and played from about 1 to 4:30, something like that. Played a lot of points, actually. We played, like I think Skinny said, we played 20 points. So it's kind of a decent day of paintball. And then Sunday we went up and scrimmaged against San Diego Aftermath. And it was really good to, go from playing ourselves to playing against another team and getting a feel for that. So I guess that's how we spent our non-layout weekend. We made the best of a rainy situation.
Yeah. So that takes us into the second weekend. You did mention that some of the more wealthier teams or teams that have players that can take more time off work, you think that they're going to do more days. Is that Dynasty's plan moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. At least for the first event, and we'll see how the process goes, and then maybe reassess after Orlando. But our plan is to fly out Thursday morning, practice Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So Thursday will be by ourselves. We'll try to get as many drills as we can in, really dial in the different shots on the layout. And then Friday, Saturday, Sunday will be a 3-team rotation with Edmonton Impact and Uprising. So hopefully we get, 2 different looks there. And then at the actual event, usually on Thursday, Dynasty would only practice for an hour because we, again, a little older, a little more fragile, want to stay fresh for the event. That's kind of been our process the last couple seasons. But we're going to go back to a 2-hour practice, 2 high-level teams. We have Diesel and NYX at the tournament. So, we'll see a ton of different looks, see how different teams and high-level players are playing the different spots, different, plays, things like that. And then the tournament starts Friday. So we'll see if our method is good or not.
There we go. So is that going to be where you're going to practice this weekend?
We're going to be up at Capitol Edge Paintball Park.
Okay, Sacramento. Nice.
Yep. Yeah, and my goodness, I'm seeing some rain up there now too. It was supposed to only rain on Sunday. This morning, I saw rain on Saturday. I sent it to Ryan. I'm like, oh man, you got to be kidding me. So I don't know. Hopefully it's not too bad. And that's another thing. It's funny. This is something that we talked about on Play the Game podcast with the 1 weekend release. And I was saying a lot of the teams in the Northeast in the early events are going to get hosed because if they only have one chance to play the practice and they typically have bad weather during that time, they're not even going to get to see the field.
Yeah.
And now we're 2 weekends in a row with bad weather.
That's exactly what Yosh said on episode 1 as well. He said it's going to just make it harder for
100%.
teams where before, if it was a bad weather on weekend 1, you could at least walk the
Right.
field and at least get those lanes down and just try and do the basics, and then you've got weekend 2. So yeah, it makes it very challenging for sure.
Yeah.
How are the guys? Everybody healthy? Is everything looking good for the guys?
Yeah. Again, we just had our first practice and I think everyone's pretty healthy. Everyone's
Good.
motivated. Everyone's excited. You know, it's funny in sports, you kind of have to, you know, motivate yourself in different ways. Right. And for everybody, it looks a little different. For me, you know, it's an interesting thing. Obviously Kyle Dalton, good friends of mine, but when I step onto the field or when I'm in the gym, I make myself upset with their decision, even though I'm actually not. You know, it's just something that you can kind of tap into.
Yeah, it's your
It's like, okay,
driving
you wanted to leave.
force.
Yeah, 100%. You know, and it was a similar thing with Tyler. You know, anyone that leaves, you just make up a story as to why you need to motivate yourself. You know, it's a little trick. So I think again, the team feels like it has a lot to prove, right? And that's a good thing. That's a really good thing. Coming off of 3 World Cups in a row, it could be a season where you can just be really comfortable and not really care to go and do what you did in the previous seasons. But that's not the feeling on the team at all. The team is really chasing excellence and trying to see, you know, one, I also think it's some graciousness as well of the opportunity we have with the players we have. You know, we have a really special team. We have really good players that care to be here and want to be here. So to waste that opportunity would be a huge letdown, not only to all the Dynasty fans, but to ourselves as competitors. So I think the team has really embraced that opportunity and is excited for another season, you know, which is good. I'm happy to see that with the team and not see us, you know, show up, you know, even into that first weekend or in our conversations as kind of, you know, comfortable. You know, comfort is usually where the success ends.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Well, it's good to hear that everybody's eager and ready to go, right? That's what you want, and
Yeah,
everybody's
for sure.
healthy, and that's the start of the season. And it's going to be an
Yeah,
exciting season for sure.
and we added you as an assistant kind of coach too, which I'm really excited for. I think that's going to bring a whole nother level to our abilities out there. I know for me as a player, I love seeing analytics. I love, you know, having more information on the other teams. And now with limited practice on the layout, that's actually going to be even more important. So really excited to have you in the fold. You've been in the game a long time, great paintball mind. So it's going to be dynamite, man.
Yeah, no, I definitely think that that's going to be a lot of teams' next step, right? Player analytics. I was talking
Sure.
to SK about it a couple of days ago, and I was just telling one of the professional soccer games that I was watching. Something came up that it was Manchester United versus Barcelona. They had 8 player statistic coaches in the stands. They all had laptops. They were all watching the game,
Yeah.
and that's 8 to watch 11 dudes, right? Like it shows you
Mhm.
how much teams take that tendencies. What are other players doing? Things like that. Another good one was,
Absolutely.
I want to say 2000 and maybe 2005. I was at a World Cup, and I think it was Excessive versus Dynasty, and I could stand at the back of the bleachers and see how it was one of the Dynasty players in 2005 going to the snake, or if they wasn't going to the snake, I could pick up how they were positioning their bodies. And I was getting the information back to David Williamson and Micah McLaughlin. And after the game, they were like, that made the world of difference because we changed
Oh
our
yeah.
lane for the way I think it was Angel was standing, or one of those guys, and they literally shot him every. I would literally call it, and they would switch their guns, and he couldn't get out. It was pretty impressive to see, and I think
It's
that's super
huge.
important that teams don't use it enough. So it's going to be exciting to see add in that
I
tactical
totally
side
agree.
to it. So yeah,
Absolutely.
um, on our first episode, we talked to Yosh and we asked him a sort of challenging rumor type question, and I know you've been with Dynasty now since 2015. over the years, you must have had a lot of offers. I know for sure to join other teams. I know for sure in these last 2 or 3 off seasons, I've heard your name come up in the rumors a lot about teams approaching you. What could you share any of that information with us? Maybe the teams or the dollar amounts. Obviously, you've never left Dynasty, so it's not good enough, whatever they're after you for. But I'd like to see if we can get some information out about that. If there's anything you feel you could share. I know it's a weird one. You're almost asking a player to say what their salary should be or what they're being offered. And I don't know if that's a comfortable question to ask you, but I'd like to see if we get any feedback from you on that.
Yeah, I think it's actually an important topic. So, we talked about this kind of off air as well. And we talked about on Play of the Game. Players should know what is potentially possible in this game, and what kind of salaries are possible. I wish all of the actual salaries, like once deals do get confirmed and made, I wish that was all public. I don't see why it's not. If we want to be a real sport, then those deals should be public. They are in other sports. You know what the market is. Players that are aspiring to do this can say, hey, mom, dad, uncle, aunt, grandma, whatever it is, look, like this is what I could make if I make these sacrifices to get there. So, as far as like those kind of salaries, I feel like we need to start letting them fly. But last year, obviously, Latin Saints, that was a big one. They came in, they were offering a lot of money. They personally offered me $100,000. I met with the owner. I actually, I guess my radar was off, but I got a very good feeling about the owner. It was a really tough decision for me. Ultimately, it didn't come down to money. In paintball, I've always treated paintball as a business. So, my actual playing salary doesn't have to pay all of my bills. I've always done and found a lot of pleasure in building my own brand and building my own business, kind of so I could be not at the mercy of some of these other team owners as well, so that I could do whatever I wanted to put myself in the best position to win, which ultimately to me is the most important thing in the game is winning, right? As a competitor, that's why I became a pro in the first place, is because I was competitive, because I wanted to win at the highest level. I wanted to be one of the best. I wanted to one day be recognized as one of the best players and have the most wins with an organization. So I've always, done a lot of clinics. I have my own merchandise, do a lot of, different sales, the podcast, anything that I can do to generate income. That's what I've done. So even with that though, $100,000 is a lot of money. That's life-changing money coming from a salary from just about any other organization. Ultimately, we had just picked up Archie. We had just won World Cup. I knew what we were building with Dynasty, both on and off the field, and it just didn't feel right. I think I've talked about this before. It was, 4, 5, 6 days of like excruciating pain. You would think an offer like that would kind of bring some joy and delight. It wasn't a good feeling. It was a decision that like, you only have so many of these big decisions in your life. I think, going through the process, I looked back on about 4 of them that I've maybe had in my whole life, where you take one decision and the rest of your life changes, for better or worse. You don't know. And I guess you could say that with anything, but there's these big moments in your life where you will look back on them, 10 years down the line and say, man, I wish I didn't make that decision, or I'm so glad I made that decision. Right. So it was one of those, I knew this was one of those kind of decisions with everything Dynasty was building and the opportunity that was presented. And, you get bogged down with going through, everything on this side of the decision and everything on that side of the decision. You start to lose your ability to think clearly. And so ultimately what led me to my decision is when I would wake up in the morning for like 4 days in a row, my very first thought was that it didn't feel right. That was my very first thought. I just had this feeling. And it was when, I felt that my head was the most clear. I hadn't been spending the entire day, thinking about it and scrutinizing over all the if this, then that, I had the information
changing
stored.
Your own mind as the day goes on.
Yeah. Convincing yourself of things. I knew that it didn't feel right. I knew that we had a chance to do something really special with the team that we had put together. And I wanted to see that through. That's ultimately what it came down to. And there is also this misleading narrative that Dynasty puts out that Dynasty players don't make any money. Um, Dynasty players can make a lot of money if they're willing to do the work. That's the thing. Dynasty is one of the best places to be for building your own brand. So if you have different business ventures within the sport, this team is where you want to be. This team is the organization that has the biggest fan base, and that's all love to, Alex, Yosh, Ryan, and Oliver, who built that from the ground up. It's because of them. So while the playing salaries might not be these, exuberant, massive deals, the opportunity to make something and turn this into something is fantastic. And that kind of goes, untalked about, and the guys don't like to share that, but it's a reality here, right? It totally is a reality. As far as like jersey sales and stuff like that, I've sold more jerseys in the past couple seasons than my whole career combined, I think, and I don't think that that's, all because of me. That's largely because of this team and the fan base. It's the greatest fan base in the world. So there is a lot of opportunity here financially as well. And people overlook that, but yeah, at the end of the day, it was seeing the opportunity that we had here, both on and off the field, the players that we had around us, and wanting to see that through. Yeah. And it's the same thing this season. There's offers, by top teams, and you ask yourself, like, do they actually want me, or are they just trying to break up this team? Do they actually want to utilize what I could bring to the table, or is it just kind of a poke at our organization? And however you decide to process that. Ultimately, I've decided that this is where I want to be right now. We're in the middle of this amazing run, have a great opportunity both on and off the field with this team. And I one of the challenges for me when I first got on the team, you mentioned, was 2015. It took a long time for me to build my brand and become recognized with Dynasty. And that was strange for me because on all of my previous teams, I was kind of the guy. I was recognized as one of the leaders of the team. I was recognized as a player that plays, every point. And then I got on Dynasty, and that had kind of shifted. And for me, I said to myself that if I can make a legacy here within this organization with all the great players that have come through San Diego Dynasty and really made a name for themselves on Dynasty, then that will say something for my career rather than, being, the number one player on another team. So I kind of made that my mission, many years ago. And I'm still on that mission. It's something that I'm trying to prove every day, every time I, step into the gym, every time I get onto the field, every time we show up to practice. It's kind of a lifetime of work. These guys are goated, the OGs of the team have been doing it a long time, and they've really blazed the way.
Yeah, there's such a big, like you said, getting into that core. The core of Dynasty is so big and strong. It will take time, right? And I guess that's the newer guys. Your Mikey, right? He's been around a few seasons now, and eventually he'll grow into being part of the core, but it takes a lot, and it takes a long time. But that's what makes Dynasty so great as well. There's no other team that has a core group of players like Dynasty does.
No. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, they all qualify for the veterans division. The men's veterans over in Europe, if they all play this year, then everyone's going to be in a lot of trouble. I've been trying to, hopefully Yosh, Alex, hopefully they'll head over there.
Yeah, get Oliver to fly from Bali.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, I think it's a big part of paintball for people to know what the possibility is and the opportunity is. I know when I was playing, a lot of people would say, wow, you moved to America and you're a professional paintball player. I bet you get a lot of money. And I'd be like, no, not quite like that. But I do get very worldly wealthy. There's no other thing that could have given me the opportunities to do clinics in all over South America, Australia. I've been to all these places, and there's nothing else in this world would have given me that opportunity to be worldly wealthy. And that definitely changed my life. Right. So I think it's a Junior, big thing.
You bring up a great point, actually. A lot of the game's gifts, as Maddie calls it, gifts of the game, are things that money cannot buy. So even if you were making $70 million a year. Money can't buy these experiences that we've been able to get by going. And it's, we're in a golden era of paintball in the sense that, careful what you wish for. Once paintball does explode, we probably won't be able to have these type of experiences as professionals. But right now, it's very special because we can. You can fly down and teach a pro school, and typically you'll stay with the family or the field owner or team owner that brings you down there, and you live like a local. You live and experience the things that they experience, and those are things that really money doesn't buy. You don't get those kind of opportunities. And just really quick to wrap up the salary kind of conversation. If you are one of there's probably 20 to 30 players that are getting paid to play paintball, and maybe 10 to 20 of them are making 40 grand ish or more. It's not that much, and there's a few that are making 80 grand. You hear, 90 grand, 100 grand for maybe one or two guys. Most of the time, I believe, I'm not positive on this, but I believe that it's, cash. So up to you what you do with that. But if you want to buy a house, if you want to start a business, if you want to get a loan, that money's going to be taxed, and it's not as much as you think. So, you really have to treat this game like a business. I can't say that enough, and I'm so glad that and largely thanks to my father. My dad taught me business from a young age. He started and ran many of his own businesses. He was always his own boss. It was always, this thing and then that thing and then this thing, whatever he could do to make money, he would. And he taught me how to basically monetize anything that I enjoyed. That was one of the most valuable gifts and lessons that I could have learned as a human to this day. And it's something that I'm so thankful that when I started playing professional paintball, it was never my goal to just try to get the highest paying contract. As I stated earlier, that has truly, truly helped me. I hope that players coming up in this game understand that. If you treat it like a business, and whether that means you decide you want to have your own brand, or you want to, build your likeness to have endorsement deals and be valuable to other companies, to where maybe they want to hire you as a research and developer or a graphic designer. If that's, your passion, your ability to play this game at a high level will give you those opportunities with companies. There are so many different ways to monetize paintball and make a very lucrative living to support yourself, support your family, do something that you love, do something you enjoy, have these experiences that you and I are both talking about, as well as make a comfortable living, right? But if you're just striving to be the best player and make your salary solely from playing, don't be let down when you find out that, one, it's incredibly hard. You got to be in like the top, 1%. And two, it's actually not even that crazy of a salary, right? Just to kind of curb those expectations. Now, that could all change overnight, Junior. Like, we see social media and its power, and we've seen some clips go viral on SportsCenter, ESPN, Instagram. Things are in this in the world right now where marketing and how many eyes you have on your product is worth billions of dollars, right? What was it, like a 30-second Super Bowl commercial was $7 million?
$7 million, yeah.
Crazy, right? So it's all about how many eyes are on the thing that you're doing. That's how you can really make money. And that can change overnight. And all of a sudden, if you're in position to be one of those players that, have a high likeness and have built your own brand, then there's going to be money coming to you. Now, we've been having this talk for 20, 30 years. I know when you were coming up, it was like, oh, the TV deal's right around the corner.
ESPN, baby.
But 100%. But it still has only been like 20 years. That's not a very long time at all in the grand scheme of things. So things could change overnight with that, right? But to have the appropriate expectations and understanding of what it is right now and what it could possibly be, maybe that's your investment, is what it could possibly be. For me, there's nothing that I would rather do for any amount of money. So, I am my own boss. I get to do what I enjoy every single day. Even the stuff that is work is enjoyable. It's work. Don't get me wrong. We work a lot. It's, my girlfriend, she's so patient, and thank goodness, but I'm on this thing like all day long. And friends and people, they say like, what are you so busy doing? You play professional paintball. And it's hard to actually explain, but you're constantly the one responsible for setting up these events, booking the flights, doing your own scheduling, making sure product is ordered, making sure this is in line. It's nonstop, getting back to messages, on social media and the Discord, the setting up a pod, like it is nonstop. I wake up, work pretty much all day, go to bed, but it's still in a way on your own terms. It's, you get it. You own a business in this space as well. It doesn't feel like going to work for somebody else.
No, it's still the passion, right? It's the passion
absolutely.
side of it. But that does
Absolutely.
segue us into another question that I got for you. You might know which answer this perfectly with the number, but I'm going to ask you that way because I think it's really good for people to get this information. So, taking out NXLs and Dynasty practice, how many weekends do you think? Because I know you do a lot of coaching, clinics, with other teams. How many weekends is that out of your year, do you think? Or, roughly?
Yeah, it's between 40 and 45. I really only give myself, like right now, I'm booked every single weekend all the way through to the end of August. I think I have one weekend off in October. And excuse me. I try to give myself all of December off and maybe a few weeks in January to where I can just enjoy the holidays with my friends. It's actually been a great time to put a lot more focus on the podcast as well. So if I'm not traveling, then I'm a little more motivated to do more shows and do things for play the game. But December and early January really for me is a time to reconnect with the family, enjoy the holidays, take a little bit of a break, reset, and then kick off kick off the new year. But yeah, it's 40 plus weekends for sure. And that's just weekends. We say weekends, but it's, you're either flying out on Wednesday and coming home Monday, or you're flying out on Friday, coming home Monday, and it's a full thing. And then you're trying to cram a lot into a short week. Often before COVID, the travel was really crazy. You would go to a US event, come home Monday, leave Tuesday for a European event, come home Monday, leave Tuesday for an Australian event. I'd leave Tuesday, get there Thursday morning, go straight to the field for practice. Tournament starts Friday, 3 weeks in a row. And then you come back and you get home late that Monday night, and you just get in your bed and you just go, oh my God, that was a jaunt, back and forth, back and forth. But then you reflect on all the experiences you had during those times and how amazing it was. And it's all worth it. There's a little less international travel for me now. A lot of it is in the US, so the travel is a little less extensive, which is nice, to be completely honest, although I do miss the overseas stuff. Hope to get, I know I'll be going to Paris at the end of the year again for Team USA, coaching the youth division, the U19s and U16s team. But outside of that, and actually Ryan and I have a clinic in Canada. So, but outside of that, there's not much international stuff going on, which is, a little sad, but a little easier on the travel. But yeah, so we say weekends, but it's a little more than that.
Yeah, it's a lot of work, and people should see that and appreciate the time that you put into promoting paintball and helping other people grow, right? Because you're just helping the paintball community, and it's pretty awesome. I
Thank you.
know I asked you, sorry, for 30 minutes of your time, so I'm sure we're heading
Oh, we're
over that.
fine.
I do have a couple of questions. Yosh talked about the Dynasty Champ Club, and in episode one, people can go back and watch it and all the benefits from it and what it means to him and things like that. So, what we thought for episode two and the episodes moving forward, we'll ask the Champs Club members for a couple of questions just to finish off these
I
episodes.
like that. Yeah, fantastic.
So, Dan Shelley asked a couple for this show. And the first one was, now that you're an owner, and I said it in the interview, you became a part owner of Dynasty in 2021. Now you are an owner. Um, what's what does that look like now? What does the team look like and feel like to you now from when you were just a player on Team Dynasty?
Well, I think it goes back to what what I mentioned when I said, I made it a goal of mine to become one of the core members of Dynasty, and how else can you do that other than getting let into the ownership group, which was a huge honor. I forget what year it was, but I know when it happened, they hadn't brought in a new owner for like 15 years or something. Maybe that stat's a little off, but I know that it's not something that they take lightly. I know that it's not something that by they I'm talking Yosh, Alex, and Ryan. It's not something that they just open the door to for anybody. So to me, it was really a big step in that direction that we were talking about. You think back to the kid that started playing when I was 9 years old, and seeing all those. This was in 1999. And in 2001, you hear about Dynasty. They come onto the scene, and the explosion of of Oliver, Alex, Yosh, Ryan, these guys. Seeing them at my local field, getting to practice against them when I, got on to Aftermath when I was 13, and idolizing these guys and the team, idolizing Dynasty. Dynasty was larger than life. They were the first like superstar team. Their player, it's funny, Oliver is known as getting his $100,000 a year contract for 5 years. So $500,000 contract with the Ironmen, but really that's a Dynasty player that got that. Right. So Dynasty has been the most iconic team in the game for over 20 years. Right. So to now see myself as an owner of that team is really kind of crazy. When you put it into perspective, and I think back to, myself growing up in this game, to now be in position to be an owner, a part owner of this team is really, it's a huge honor. It's a huge blessing. So, to me, that was a grand gesture from the guys, and really just would like to live up to that. Now we're included in all the conversations that we were curious about before. It's I see what kind of goes on behind the scenes and all the inner workings, and it really amazes me at how professional Yosh, Alex, and Ryan are. They are true businessmen. They are true professionals. That is why they've had success in this game. And for the people that don't know, it's the success doesn't come out of luck or thin air. It's stuff that they have worked their tails off to really provide for this team and put things together. And also Eric Crandall, I know he's not one of an owner of the team, but he's a huge part of the team's success and has been he's in all of the conversations business wise as well. So it's been a really great experience, just, both observing, learning, trying to contribute when I can. It's really helped, and assisted in a lot of growth.
Nice. Good. And then his second question, these are always fun ones. Where do you see Dynasty in the next 5 years, 10 years? And obviously, sky's the limit, right?
Yeah, sky's the limit.
Who knows where paintball's going to be? But in general, that's.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. If that overnight thing happens that we were talking about, Dynasty's the first team that's going to blow up, So yep. We're all going to be sitting pretty nice. No, in all honesty, 5 to 10 years. Hopefully I'm still playing. I think I'll still be playing. But I just hope that we continue to grow and continue to field a competitive team. That's my main concern. And, the business side of it is important. We got to make sure that we're able to finance this thing and continue to be valuable to our sponsors, continue to be valuable to the people that support the organization. I really look forward to seeing the Champions Club grow. That's been an awesome way to connect with our biggest fans. I really appreciate everything they do to keep the team, healthy. It's a big part of our success. It truly is. Not just the financial part of it, but having them at the events and like the feeling you get. It has just felt really good to be part of Dynasty the last couple of years. And that's not just because of the team's success. It's everything. It's the players, it's the sponsors, it's the fans, it's everything. Right. And it has felt really good to be part of this organization. So I want that to continue to be the thing, right? I want players to continue to want to come to play for this organization. In 10 years, if the 4 horsemen or the 3 horsemen, are not playing anymore, I want to prove that we can still be the best team in the world. So ultimately it's competition. right? Being competitive. That's kind of always been my thing. I always try to put that before anything else. I know the other stuff's important, but I would like to make sure that we continue to make the best decision to field a competitive team, you know, and fight for championships.
Yeah, and just keep building it, and you see that in all sports,
Yeah.
right? You see that in all sports teams.
Yeah.
They have a core group, and then eventually they move on or they retire, and there's more newer, younger, hungrier players coming through to fill those shoes. And sometimes they have a bigger rebuild than they really want, but they have to. But it doesn't change the
Yeah.
franchise. It doesn't change the core meaning of the word of that for that team. And I can see
Totally.
Dynasty being the same way for a lot of years to come, for sure.
The culture is very strong, and that's what it
Yeah,
takes in any organization. You got to have a strong culture, you know,
yeah.
if you want to have success.
And I find it interesting you just said that the Champs Club, not about who it is or how it works, but having them around you and seeing the support made it so you felt like
Yeah.
that helped the team. That's exactly what Yosh said. Said the same thing. He goes,
Really?
he said he didn't think the team for the last 2 years would have been in the position it would be in without the Champs Club's support from those people, just driving the players to want to be more successful for them. And it's interesting that you
Yeah.
both think
Yeah, I
in the same
believe that.
way. Yeah. So,
I believe it.
Marcella,
I mean, you could feel it. Yeah.
yeah, no, it's going to be good. Thank you for taking the time out. Thank you for doing the second episode of Catching Up with Dynasty. We really do
Of course.
appreciate it. Do you want to leave with
Of course. Thank
anything
you,
to
Junior.
finish off? Anything you want to leave the audience with?
Yeah, just keep following Dynasty, keep supporting us. Black Friday paintball gear, you know, thank you guys for everything you do for the team. I'm excited to get this season going. Yeah. So, you know, I think we covered a lot, Junior. I appreciate the interview. I appreciate this content. I think this is fantastic for all the listeners. It's nice to be on this side of the microphone for once. Yeah, I've enjoyed it. Appreciate it.
Thank you, friend. Take it easy, and I'll see you soon.
Thank you. You too.
Well, there you have it. Catching Up with Dynasty, episode 2 with Marcello. We really thought that was a great show. Thank you to everybody for sticking around and watching this. Don't forget, if you're new, hit that subscribe button. Give this video a thumbs up. We'll see you in episode 3.